I'm Robert McBride, and this is Everyday People, a program in which we investigate the lives of people making a difference in our community. Right. Good afternoon. Are we ready? We're on, man. Okay. Good afternoon. This is Robert McBride with another episode of Everyday People, interviewing people in our community making a difference. On today's program, we are lucky enough to have with us two students are showing. There's other students helping to work on the tech and stuff from an after-school program at the middle school where they kind of research what's going on in the community. It's called either a community newspaper, but I think of them as kind of the future journalists for all of us, and I'm really kind of thrilled to have you guys on here. I know over the past few years you've interviewed my organization and done a really nice article. So I kind of want to just open up the afternoon show. I'm going to introduce Stuart Strotham, who coordinates the program, and also with us we have Austin to my left and Joey. So, Stuart, you might give us a little background about the program. You've been developing it over a few years.
Okay. Well, I have a bit of a background in newspaper. Both my parents were journalists, and I was with the Guilford Central School for 9 years, where we ran a newspaper called the Guilford Gazette. And I had handled the editorial department, which was essentially the writing department. And then I took over production using InDesign and Photoshop with a group of 8th graders. And we also had a business and advertising department. Since then, we had an after-school program in Putney for a short time, 2-3 years, called the Putney Press. And the Terrier Times here in Bellas Falls has been going for about 4 years, I think. So a little while.
Great. And when the after school program is student wants to do it, how many days a week does it meet? Do you want to kind of give us a little background about it, Austin? You're kind of been on it for a few years, right?
It's 2 days a week,
Okay.
Tuesday and Thursday. And recently it's mainly people come on Thursday than Tuesday.
Specifically the newspaper.
Yeah.
Right.
It's been going on for about 4 years.
And what kind of time commitment is it? Is it when you meet on Tuesday and Thursday? Is it an hour and a half, a couple of hours?
It's a couple of hours. It's about 3 to 5. I think more like 3:15 to 5. But yeah, it's about 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. And then is it the kind of thing that you then work, other times over the weekend on the articles you're working on and stuff, or do you kind of accomplish everything within the framework of the times you meet?
We can accomplish everything in the time works we meet. There hasn't really been a time we had to do it over.
Well, talk a little bit about the Saxtons River thing, the recent groundbreaking, just because you did some stuff on your own for that.
So currently, I am working on an article for the groundbreaking in Saxtons River for the new park.
Oh, great.
I was able to go to the very end of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just very nice that Saxtons River is now getting this park where friends and family can have a space to go, where they can enjoy themselves without having to go outside of town or have to have access to a big backyard.
Right. They can actually walk to it.
And that was a story you kind of picked up on in the community and just took the lead on.
Yeah.
I was we were just driving home one day from the club, and I saw what was going on. So after we had dropped my brother off at home, we just drove back and took some pictures, got some info, and watched a little bit of the end.
Cool, that's great. Joey, how long have you been involved with this after-school program?
I've been involved since, I would say, the second trimester of 5th grade. We we're working on. I first got introduced to it because in the mornings I would go to Mr. Strotham's room during the time where you could go to a teacher's room and get some help. And I would go up to his room, and then he started introducing the idea of helping him with some of the InDesign stuff and some of the Photoshop stuff that we use for our newspaper and how to process the pictures and make it all perfect for our newspaper. And that's when I started to be like, so could I possibly start writing some stuff? He's like, yeah, we meet after school at these times, and that's what got me into it.
Great. And are you you an eighth grader also? What year are
Yes.
you in now? So both of
Yeah,
you are
we're
eighth
both in
graders
eighth grade.
and be going on to the Bellows Falls High School next year?
Yes.
Cool. That's great. So are you both interested in all aspects of kind of the newspaper and journalism? Is there something that particularly appeals to you, the writing of it, the design of it, or photographing?
Journalism, that I think all the aspects of doing it were fun. The business part of it for the ads is new this year. That'd be fun to see how that works out. But I really wasn't into journalism when I first joined, because when I joined, it was when it just started the middle school. And it was more of a thing I thought, hey, I want to write a newspaper. So I had joined, and then over that trimester, it was mainly just me and Mr. Strotham writing it, but there were some other people there too.
I think you were our first story.
I might have been the first story. Oh my gosh,
For
fantastic!
the Rockingham
There was an auspicious
Arts and
beginning.
Museum project.
Huh? That's great. Great. And for you, Joey, so what have you kind of like, as you've gotten more involved in this, what has kind of kept your interest in it?
Well, it's the idea that we have a whole bunch of kids who are very different, who for 2 hours each day go meet up and write a newspaper that we publish every trimester. And it's just really fun because the way he does it, it's exciting. We have a lot of fun. He has us do work for the newspaper, and we all put forth something for it, because he doesn't just let someone come in and do the fun stuff and then just goof off doing the work.
Right.
What happens is we have a whole bunch of fun, and we do enough work so that we can make a nice newspaper that goes out to our community, and I like it.
That's great. Now, how many do you print up to distribute? How many are in the?
Do you know our distribution? I
Isn't
think
it
you
around
probably
500?
do. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
we have
about 500.
We have a
Okay.
distribution of about 500.
So, and then at the school they get distributed, or are they there for people to pick up, or do you distribute them to each homeroom or each class? What do you do at the actual school?
We distribute it through our homerooms. What happens is we will have a pile for each student and each teacher in each classroom at the end of the day to pick up, and then there's usually a couple piles left over, so then he'll go around with us to local businesses, give them piles of our newspaper so that people who go there can read
Right.
some of our newspaper.
That's cool.
And Austin, tell us just a little bit about, that was a good summary of how we distribute. Talk just a little bit about folding parties. I think that might be interesting for them.
Great.
The folding, well, you might think, wow, that's boring. Just folding pieces of paper and then stapling them. But we do end up having a good time there. Usually we have music playing, and sometimes there's maybe a snack.
Food
but-
always helps. Food's good. Food brings
But-
people together.
But you have a lot of conversations, and that little boring thing you might think is boring is a lot of fun if you're able to socialize and listen to music.
So, can people, if they want, come and help at just the folding party when you need more people?
That's a great idea.
I'm sure you need people that help in different aspects. So they might not come for regular meetings of the club, but you might say, hey, you want to come to our folding party? And maybe that's a good way for people to kind of get introduced to a fun event that then may turn into their involvement. Or it just might be something, yeah, I'd love to do that and do it. Have you ever done any outreach around that?
I think, so speaking for myself, at the Guilford Gazette, we did, it was a service learning program that was part of our regular school week, and it was done just with 8th graders, and we did have some community people. But there we were we had a lot of backing from the district, and we would put it out to the entire town, and we would usually get a few volunteers. Since then, the after-school programs at Putney and Bellas Falls, we've really handled it ourselves, although I have had many students help during the school day at times. So, but that's a great idea. Or we could really get a couple of other people in there to help out, and it's fun.
Yeah. Now, I know at the high school there is a community service aspect over the 4 years you're there. I'm not sure if it's 40 hours or some amount of time.
I think it is.
Does the middle school have any kind of community service concept that the students participate in or need to participate in before they move on to high school?
There isn't, if I'm correct, a requirement needed for middle school, but there are sometimes posters and flyers saying, like, seeing if people want to volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think 2 years ago, there was a Rotary Club volunteering for like this boat derby, where people had to go up the river to the dam and then come back.
And we've also, last year, I think we participated in the Source to Sea cleanup with Connecticut River Conservancy,
And
which the 7th grade did again this year. Did you have something else that you remembered? No.
I can't remember anything
Okay.
else.
And then I know that I'm not sure how organized it was. For a number of years, the Green Up Day was pretty well organized, and I'm not sure
Yeah.
how the community does that at this point or what
I
the
know
involvement.
that we don't have a formal involvement that I'm aware of, but we definitely get out at the beginning of May, and we'll kind of do a fair amount of green up. Were either of you with us? I know it was 7th graders last year when we went and cleaned up behind the SU. I don't know if you were with us. I think we were with different groups, did different things.
Yeah, I think our group did something. I know I wasn't in that group at
Gotcha.
least.
So you guys have touched on, and maybe Joey, you can give us a little more information about this sort of ad campaign or what's going on with the ad sales or ad support. I mean, I think
Yes.
the community needs to hear about it. Maybe some of our viewers or listeners might be very excited to know about it and maybe participate.
So, at the end of the last school year, I was bringing up to Mr. Strotham about how I think we should try to get some ads, because we have right now, for our folding and stapling parts, we have one stapler that's specially fit for the putting the newspaper on it and stapling the bind of it.
Right.
But right now, we only have one, so it takes a while to do that. But if we were to get more than one, let's say by buying it with money we made from ads.
Right.
So I said, hey, we should have an ad department thing where we collect ads each trimester and put them in the paper. And we have business card sized and fourth of size of a page ads that will allow people to buy. And it's like $30 for a business card and then $50 for the fourth of a page. We have that just starting out. Hopefully we'll get a good amount of submissions for this trimester.
Yeah.
And then in addition to buying some supplies to help us, we can buy more paper, we can increase our distribution. That's one of the key things that we're looking to do. We definitely need another stapler. It's amazing, the saddle staplers. We have a swing line that's about $35 from Amazon I got, but we used to have, in Guilford, we had these German staplers that ran $200. So it'd be neat to have something like that. And then just the possibility of increasing our distribution and maybe even saturating some mail routes. We're hoping to start with post office boxes in town. But right there, that's probably 600
Right.
individual, and we'd use everyday direct mail to do that bulk mailing. But we'd need to bring in some money.
Right, and how are you leveraging the social media aspects of things, that
That's
posting
a good
on
one.
Facebook, or do you have a link that someone could put on their site where you do each edition?
Well, actually, we've also been working on making a student newspaper website where we're going to be making it so we have a PDF file for every single one of our newspapers that we've come out with since the beginning that we started at to right now. And we have a good amount of stuff on there. We've got a description of the newspaper, a list of the people who have been in it. It's just a pretty fun thing that we've been doing on the side, and I'm hoping we can finish it soon.
Yeah. Well, my organization, the Rockingham Arts and Museum Project, maintains a RAMP Google group where people can post things on they're interested around the arts in the broadest sense. It could be an exhibition, it could be a job opportunity, it could be an interesting fundraiser or things that are doing, and it could be good if the text of the newspaper, because I don't know how many pages is it generally.
It's usually around.
It's 8.
Yeah, it would say 8 pages.
So it's two 11x17s double-sided,
Yeah.
which is 8 pages.
Yeah, but if we could do some kind of thing that someone could link and go see it somewhere, we could post that on the ramp discussion. They could push the button, open it up,
Mhm.
and the latest thing would be out, because we want to be environmentally conscious also, don't we?
Yeah, I think people would be impressed with the range of articles that we have.
Yeah. So tell me then a little bit about, you're working on this article, Austin, about the park, or that was one of the last ones you've been working on and following that story. Number one, when is that park? Did the ribbon cutting happen for it?
It wasn't really a ribbon cutting. It was a groundbreaking. So they had
Oh,
a
okay.
shovel.
Yeah.
And
Okay. And when do they expect, since I haven't read your article, maybe it hasn't come out
it
yet?
hasn't come out.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll wait, for the details. But cool. That's great. And what other articles are you thinking of working on, or either of you? We'll take a turn with each of you. Joey, are you working on
Well,
some article right now, or thinking about one?
one of the ones that I was hoping to do was actually an article on the experience of coming on this TV show.
Okay.
So, if we were to do that, then that'd be a fun idea to just write about you interviewing us or something like that. I'm just, yeah.
That's great.
Maybe also list some of the ones we've done in the past. That might be interesting for the viewers.
Well, I know Austin can list a couple he did.
I did the article on the Project Space 9. That's when we
Yep.
interviewed you. I did the article about. Oh, jeez.
And why don't you just list people that we've been involved in interviewing? Because you could probably rattle off a bunch of those.
People we've interviewed.
Sure.
Well, we've interviewed. Was it the principal of the Central School?
Yep.
We've interviewed him.
About the playground.
About the playground. We've interviewed the fire chief. We've interviewed the police chief. We've interviewed the town manager.
Mm-hmm.
We've interviewed. Oh, it's
Think of a business.
it's Circus Smirkus.
Oh,
Troy Wonderly.
Troy Wonderland.
Oh, great. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And why don't you rattle off a few that you've done or that you remember?
Well, I remember
In
that
addition.
I've done a couple of articles, including I did a couple of the recipes on the back.
Oh, yeah.
I wrote the instructions and how it tasted and everything. And all that.
Great.
And then I also did I did an article about my grandfather. He's a Vietnam veteran. I was talking about Vietnam vets. And then I've done a couple other articles, including last year I did one trying to get out some knowledge about this YouTube thing that was going around that a lot of kids were trying to go along with, but it wasn't appropriate for children, and it was actually very crude and disrespectful to people.
Mm.
So
That was our first editorial, actually.
yeah, that was our first editorial.
Wow. Now, do people write letters to the editor? And do you have a little letters to the editor? Other students write in about stuff, or do you encourage that?
To my knowledge, we have 0 letters.
We haven't had that section yet. We would be open to it.
Okay, that's
And
great.
I know that there have been some students that have been talking with me sometimes about how they were like, oh, well, I liked this article, but I think this article could have not happened or something like that. Because like the editorial was actually like a big thing in our school. Like half the kids were along with what I was saying, half the kids were like against what I was saying.
Mm-hmm.
So me and the person who were doing it both had a lot of students come to us and say, hey, you shouldn't have done that article. It's not true, when it actually was 100% factual based on ratings and everything.
Mm. Wow, that's great. That's great stuff. And if you include images in the terrier,
Mm-hmm.
do you take them yourself, or do you have another person that just likes to take photographs or images and supplies them in your group?
We usually take all of our photos.
Usually, it is just one of the students, whoever wants to go and use the phone and take pictures, usually will do it.
Mhm. And we have to edit them a bit.
Yeah, we usually edit them in Photoshop and load it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, have you ever heard of? There's a school up in White River Junction called the Cartoon Studies School. Are you aware of that?
I have heard of it.
Yeah, it's a
I've
pretty
actually
amazing place.
I have not.
Nor have
I've
I.
never been there.
Yeah, it's right in downtown. It's probably been open since about 2007. A man named James Sturm started it, and it's sort of a national, international school where people come and learn about, developing cartoons. And there's actually several cartoonists that live in Vermont. Rick Veitch lives in our area. And then if you ever read the New Yorker magazine, or your parents do, Ed Koren, he lives up in Vermont. And there's a couple of other different
That's
ones that
interesting.
live around.
We've had some decent cartoonists in our school.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we've published some.
Yeah, and that's great. And in fact, I was talking to you all when I ran into you at the post office a couple of weeks ago, because I'm involved in an organization, the Friends of the Vermont State House, and we're hosting a all-day symposium on October 24th on journalism. And people can just go to the Vermont State House website, and if they're interested in participating, I think there's room for about 200 people. It's going to be held at the state capitol, in the hall or the room that the representatives meet in, which can accommodate up to about 200 people. You get to actually sit at the desks of the representatives in the gallery, and the whole symposium will take place there that day, kind of exploring the different aspects of news, fake news, and everything. And I've managed to get the Cartoon Study School involved a little bit in participating that day. They're working on some really interesting projects. But I wanted to kind of capture some of it, besides people writing about it or videoing it, which they will. I also wanted to capture what's called graphic notation. And it's where one of the cartoonists would be there, and while one of the people are speaking, they kind of capture on a bigger piece of paper, sketching and words and stuff that sort of summarize the person talking. So that's kind of there's a whole variety of careers that people can be involved in with it. And so I'm kind of excited about that day, and it'll be great. And we're hoping that maybe some of the Bellows Falls students will be able to participate in it. We'll just have to see how that shakes down.
Yeah, we're looking into that. Both Joey and Austin have experience at the State House. We were up lobbying for funding for the after-school program last year, and Joey has applied to be a legislative page this year. So
Fantastic.
we're looking to build our connections.
That would be great.
We're interested.
That'd be really, really great. I've kind of gotten a little bit of a high sign that we have just a couple of minutes left. So if someone wants to find out more about the newspaper or the ad campaign you're developing, how do they call into a certain number? Do they write to a certain number? What would be the best thing to share with the public about if you want to know more about the newspaper and the program that you're doing?
Well, I will say that the official email for the newspaper is actually my school email, which is stuart.strothman@wnesu.com. That's stuart.strothman@wnesu.com is our official email. But look for if you're in the Rockingham area, where are some of the places that you would find the paper?
You could find them at the town hall.
You can find them at our local coffee shop, the Flatiron Exchange.
If I'm correct, you can find them at the bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
You can find them at, I'm trying to think of another place now,
Definitely.
our local library.
Definitely.
Fantastic, yeah.
Yeah,
Libraries
so
are good
those are
source.
some of the key places, and then we also hit Leasi's.
Right.
And sometimes a few of the other, I'm trying to think of some of the main spots, some of the restaurants.
Yeah, and I think you've from time to time dropped a few off at Project
Oh.
Space 9.
I think we
Yeah.
regularly try to go down
Lest
there
we
also.
forget.
Yes, I don't want to forget that. That's very basic.
So anyway, I want to thank you for taking some time to come over here. And Stuart, you're doing a great job reading and heading up this program and managing it. And both Joey and Austin for participating. And I hope we get a little update maybe in a couple of months
Mhm.
about some stuff that's going on, some other news breaking things. But in the meantime, this is Robert McBride, and I want to thank Fact TV for being such a great resource for the community, and also to help thank underwriters First Light, formerly Sobernet Chroma Technology, the Vermont Arts Council, and the National Endowment for the Arts, also for helping to make RAMP continue to be vital in the community. So until next time, see you around the square.
Thank you.
Yeah.